Happy Friday to you, family and friends. I pray that you are well this wonderful Friday. I believe it is October 13th. Well, it is yours truly. It is because as the Lord told Joshua and instructed Joshua in Joshua 1:3 to walk before him, and that wherever the sole of his foot would touch and tread, the Lord had given to him as a possession. And so we have been walking the borders of Frisco to begin, and today was the fourth day, the fourth border, the northern border, 380, the border that separates Frisco and Prosper. Today and found a nice little place. There's a story, two stories out of Bill Winston. He's more of an apostle than he is a pastor, but 16 years ago, while my wife and I, after we had just gotten married, we were newlyweds, we were in transition. We were leaving a church that we both were leaders in and had been in for more than a decade. And the Lord told us to go to Bill Winston's church. I believe it's Life. I can't remember the name right now, but it was a great transition point for us for what the Lord would have for us for the next season of our life. And Bill Winston lived in Minnesota. He's from Alabama, but he lived in Minnesota, and the Lord told he and his family to go to Chicago. They began to go on the weekends and host meetings, and then the Lord told them to move there with no money, etc. And he moved into an area that wasn't very affluent, wasn't necessarily safe. And he moved there as they began the church, and he began to have residents come. They were complaining about the drug dealing and the gang banging that would take place in this area, that was taking place around them. And so Bill Winston went out one day, began to pray over the neighborhood, and all of a sudden the drug deal ceased in that area. Walk and pray. The Bible tells us that the effectual, fervent prayers of a righteous man, in James, they avail much. They have great effect. The effectual, the heartfelt, the passionate, fervent prayers of a righteous man. One other quick story. I lived in Chicago Heights, Illinois, in a house that was converted to an apartment before I was married. And I lived on the second floor. There was a woman and her daughter lived on the first floor. In Chicago Heights, in this area, there was a lot of drug dealing, a lot of gang banging. It was happening on my street, literally on my corner, right outside of the stairs of my house. And I made a commitment. I would, every time I saw a drug dealer, every time I saw gospel of Jesus Christ with them. And so I did. So I went out every time they would stand by my stairs on the corner. I would share the gospel with them until there came a point where there was no more drug deals, no more drug sales that took place within a 2-block radius of my apartment. And on behalf truly of the city and the neighborhood in which we live in to a greater degree. So I want to encourage you as we prepare to move into the next town, just on the other side. If you see right here on the other side of the street where this hospital, this is Cook's Children's Hospital. I'm standing in Frisco, Texas. That's Prosper, Texas. As we prepare to cover Prosper, Texas. Why? We're believing for an outpouring of our Lord, for him to pour himself out and to make himself known, not in just one city, but the entire region in which we live. If you would step out of your comfort zone, begin to walk around the land of your house, take oil and pour it upon your land, take it down the street of your block, in your neighborhood, and begin to cover it with the goodness and the glory of our Lord. Well, I pray you have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend in the Lord, and that you would enter into the house of the Lord your God this Sunday with an expectation in your heart that you had not had last week. May the Lord bless you. May he cover you. May he do you good this week. God bless you.